Well, happy Saturday, folks. The real Captain Kirk here. We're live from One Bethlehem Plaza here in downtown Bethlehem on the first full day of summer. It actually arrived last night at 10:43. So again, welcome to Sun Says Summer. Again, a beautiful day here. Again, it's about 65 this morning, going up about 88 today. We will take it. A lot of hype here about the heat dome, death dome. Again, after 45 plus days of cool, rainy weather here in the Northeast, again, some of us will welcome the warmer weather. Looking at the hot weather here, yeah, a little bit of hype here. And again, I'm not a fan of the sensationalism, but again, certainly a heat wave. But again, if we look at the hot 90-degree days as of today, again, through year to date here in the U.S., actually down 14%. So again, above average, but again, down 14% versus last year. Northeast is non-existent. It's up to this point here as of the first full day of summer. It's again down 81% versus last year. Least hot 90-degree days in 22 years in the Northeast. So again, that's just how coolish, wettish we've been here. Again, so we add in these 2 weeks here coming up. So with the counting in the big heat wave we're going to have here for about 4 days, Sunday through about Wednesday. U.S. will pick up some ground, still down 7% versus last year. Again, this goes through July 4th, projecting, the next 2 weeks. Northeast makes up a lot of ground, but still, again, down 33% from last year's record conditions. So, again, making up some ground here, but, again, not earth-shattering here. Looking at some of the trends here. So, again, see the big heat wave here in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. We're going to have about 4 days, Sunday through about Wednesday, getting up to the mid to high 90s for a couple days here. And then, again, see the cold front drops us back to about 82, which is actually below average by Friday, and then more seasonable weather as we go forward into the 4th of July weekend. Look at Boston, a huge plunge, 98 to 71 here by Friday, so a big plunge there. Washington, D.C., a little bit. They'll get a little closer to average, but 101 down to 92. Minneapolis, 97 down to 73, way below average by Friday. Atlanta really not in the heat wave. Actually, heat dome is more up here in the mid-Atlantic, so they're actually not that hot right now. They're about 91. It could actually go up by Friday to 98. And Phoenix and Dallas are laughing at us to calling this the death dome since it's 105 projected here today in Phoenix, and that's actually below average. They're going to go up to 108 by Friday, so again, which is about near average. So they're kind of laughing at the fact that we think 98 is pretty hot when it's a typical day in Dallas and a cold day in Phoenix. If we look at these year-over-year trends here on a national scale, so this is just showing May, June. So bars where it's much colder than last year, red's hotter than last year. So it's been a cooler trend for sure. May, the coolest in 4 years. June's been cooler than last year nationally. Major holidays, Memorial Day, Father's Day, much cooler. In fact, remember in the Northeast here, Father's Day was coldest in 20, 30, 40 years, parts of the Northeast. So again, even this heat wave here nationally, again, it's still cooler than last year. So next weekend looks a little bit warmer, and then 4th of July, again, going into 4th of July weekend, a little bit cooler year on year. We call this our power of 1 degree, how every 1 degree of temperature change has an influence on seasonal sales. So if it's about a degree hotter than last year, you're going to have about a 15% increase in air conditioner sales, 10 degrees hotter, 150% increase. Obviously, if we're trending a couple degrees cooler than last year's record heat, again, we can actually have a downward trend, even though it's a strong week for seasonal sales. It's just not as strong as last year. So again, this is how we help big retailers plan inventory allocation, marketing, advertising, all those good things a year ahead. Look at severe weather here in the U.S. as of the 19th of June. Again, tornadoes picked up a little bit of ground here, a little more activity, still down 2% versus last year, well above average. Hail down about 1%, and wind has still been the big cases here. 9,791 wind events, most in 14 years, and about 25% more than a year ago. You can see the signs of this cold front that's going to end the heat wave here, so the severe weather will be out in front of it. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, the front will be clearing Minneapolis, and then it'll clear the East Coast probably Wednesday night, Thursday morning. So the heat wave will be over by Thursday in the Northeast as that cold front comes through. Look at last week world summary ending here today, here the 21st of June. Here in the U.S., about 1 degree cooler than last year, still 6th warmest in 40 years. Hot 90-degree days, we're still down 30%. Again, obviously still above average, 6th most in 40 years, and 17% wetter than a year ago, 15th wettest in 40 years, so above average on that front. UK, very hot, second hottest in 40 years, and dry. So warm, dry is what we like to see for hot seasonal category sales, consumable sales like cold beverages. Europe, again, a little bit warmer, similar to last year, warmest in 12 years. Very cool there in India, actually. 4th coolest in 40 years and wet. A little unusual. Brazil also a little bit cooler than last year. So maps inset left are the trends versus average. This big map is the trends versus last year, how our retail customers look at the weather. Went with an orange theme here today. Again, hot week for this first week of summer here. Just not as hot as last year. So 0.9 cooler than last year nationally. Third warmest in 40 years. You can see this kind of transient pattern where it goes from hot in the west to cool. So quite cool in the western half of the country here after some heat recently. So that heat is shifting to the mid-Atlantic, kind of D.C., Virginia, West Virginia is kind of the bullseye of the extreme heat. 100-degree plus temperatures possible down there. 40-year trends for 90-degree Fahrenheit days, again, up, because of the heat wave in the east. Again, a lot of big cities having, a 4-day heat wave here for sure. 40-year precip trends show down 15%, driest in 3 years, 15th driest in 40 years. So this is a good week. Again, it's just for seasonal sales, it's just maybe not as good as last year. Certainly Northeast is going to have a lot of pent-up demand. So you and I are going to go out and buy cold beverages, probably some fans, things that we need to survive, again, the next 4 or so days. Look at next week, hard to believe here. We're talking 4th of July weekend. It's actually a kind of a late week period here. So hope folks, everyone's got a 4-day weekend here. But trends up a bit, 1.2 warmer than last year, 8th warmest in 40 years. Again, you see the temperatures moderate. So we're not as extreme as we are this week in terms of the heat. The 90-degree days trend index here for the U.S. is up 13%, 6th most in 40 years. A lot of that's going to be concentrated more back in the Central Plains of Nebraska and the Mid-Atlantic, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Southeast. And the rainfall trend's actually down 19%, drier than last year, driest in 5 years, 18th driest in 40 years. So a good week. Again, that's uptick. And so again, the pool chemicals, those types of things that have got hammered here in the Northeast the past couple months will actually have an uptick here the next week or two. If we just aggregate these world 2-week trends here now, again, so you got really hot to warm again, but the general theme is the Mid-Atlantic. Virginia is going to be kind of bullseye for the kind of the extreme heat, if you will, and then Europe also very hot. Look at Spain and France and Germany, quite hot as well. Map inset left is the trends versus last year, so much hotter in Europe than it was a year ago. Rainfall trends here again, generally above average rainfall for much of the U.S. and again still pretty dry there in Europe. So, folks, have a great week. Enjoy the sun. Stay cool. Enjoy the heat, because it's probably going to cool off for a lot of us here after this 4-day event. So have a great week, and we'll talk to you this time next week.